On today's Andy Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti sends a letter to the NCAA president saying, please do not enforce tampering rules anymore. We will explain why and how funny that is. Plus, Dybantsa at BYU making his case not only to maybe lead the Cougars on an impressive run in the postseason, but also could he be making a run at the number 1 pick in the NBA draft? Plus, what is success for Florida football this year? How good do the Gators need to be in year 1 under John Sumrall for it to be considered a success? We'll talk about all of that today on Andy Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. This show is presented by BetMGM, and there's no better place to be during March matchups than Las Vegas. This year, college basketball fans can win a VIP trip to the Court of Legends event featuring the Cavender twins. Simply place sports bets, and your position on the leaderboard will determine if you win one of the 25 grand prize packages. Just sign into your BetMGM account, opt into the promotion, and start placing sports bets of at least $10 to climb the leaderboard. Make this March one to remember. Join the Court of Legends leaderboard and make it legendary with BetMGM. If you haven't already signed up, download that app. Use the bonus code CFB, that's CFB as in college football, and start wagering with BetMGM, and you can get involved in that sweepstakes. Also, if you're already a member at BetMGM, we got a college basketball odds boost token for conference tourney week. Use that token, add a college basketball wager to your bet, and activate the token. If your wager was made with that token, you will receive extra winnings in unrestricted bonus dollars. So use that college basketball boost token as you watch those conference tournament games this week. Make it even more legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S., call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. And Ari, what a day when you have the Big Ten Commissioner sending a letter to the NCAA president saying, hey, you know those tampering rules, you know those tampering cases all the coaches are saying you need to build up because they're tired of tampering. Please don't enforce those rules.
Yeah, I was amused because it said stop enforcing tampering as if tampering has ever been enforced. But I think it is a good window into a larger discussion about one of the most interesting rules that fans are actually, kind of
they care about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that there is a solution. He basically listened to our podcast and copied my premise, but you also don't think that this would solve the issue. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, let's start with he listened to our podcast and copied Ari's premise, because that is exactly the first. So Pete Thamel from ESPN gets this letter that Tony Petitti has sent to the NCAA president, Charlie Baker. And the letter essentially says, these rules were created in 2018 for a very different world. They don't really apply to the world now. It would be unfair to enforce them. And we've said it on the show. Like I've said it a million times. If you actually enforce the tampering rules in college football, there'd only be 4 coaches left in the FBS allowed to coach. It'd be Dabo Swinney and Jeff Monken, Troy Calhoun, Brian Newberry, the 3 Service Academy coaches, and Dabo Swinney, who doesn't use the portal enough for it to matter. And by the way, his fans are mad that he doesn't tamper. So it's true. It's true.
It's true. The only coach that would be saved in the power conferences for not tampering is the coach that their fans would die to tamper.
Yeah, wants them to tamper so bad. But so That's what Petitti's asking, and it does make sense. But let's talk about the ask itself, because it did. I texted you the second it came out and said, Ari, he stole your idea.
Well, the only way that you could ever successfully do this, if you wanted to live in a world where we were tampering, or excuse me, where tampering was penalized, is because the genie has been out of the bottle for more than a year, and because most coaches that we assume or know are involved in breaking that rule, you can't go back and start picking cases one by one, because it would lead to a spider web that basically points at probably everybody. So what you do is you rewrite the rules in an enforceable way now. You create a future deadline for when that begins, and anybody who is reported or caught doing that or breaking the rules that you just wrote from that day forward would be penalized. Again, still don't know if you could do it, because I don't know what it means for the player that's being tampered with. I don't know if that would lead to a lawsuit that says you impeded in my ability to make the most money. Like, these are all things that are still kind of out there. But in order for you to ever start to put your foot down and try to corral tampering, you have to pick a future date and start from then, so everybody has a clean slate.
And basically what Tony Petitti said, he said they would have what he calls a tolling period, which basically would start now. And if you violate what the new rule is, even now, you can be penalized for that, which in the real world in America, you can't do that, because the Constitution says you can't make ex post facto laws. But in NCAA land, maybe you could.
Yeah.
I think it'd be probably more like you rewrite from a practical sense, you rewrite the rules. And then once you've rewritten the rules, that's when the clock starts.
The thing that I find really interesting about this is, if we believe that everybody is complicit in this, then maybe it just don't make a rule about it at all, and it just is what it is.
That's also the possibility. So what I wrote is, it's basically like remodeling an upstairs bathroom on a house that's about to collapse. Like, the tile looks really nice, but eventually the bathtub's coming through the master bedroom. Like, you don't keep doing these little spot fixes when you need to rip it down to the studs and rebuild the whole thing from the ground up.
Some people put really nice rims on crappy cars.
That's true. That's true, but it's not a smart move.
It doesn't help your resale value at all.
It doesn't change your resale value at all. It just, now you got to take the rims off before you sell the car. So here's the deal with this. You can't really have effective tampering rules until you have effective player movement rules. And you can't have player movement rules until you decide whether you're going to let the players be involved in the rulemaking, because that is the only way to legally do it. Now, these commissioners and a lot of the ADs are still hoping that Congress will save them by passing a law that has a blanket antitrust exemption that allows them to just unilaterally impose this stuff. It's not going to happen. The SCORE Act may pass the House. It will never pass the Senate as it's written. Probably more likely, if you want a law that gives you an antitrust exemption, there has to be a compromise, probably where you have the players at the table making the rules with you. So whether you're going to negotiate with them as part of a CBA or some sort of congressionally mandated negotiation unit
/ mechanism for voting so that everybody has a voice, maybe even.
Correct. The players are going to be involved in this the next time you do it. That's the only way to protect yourselves from these lawsuits. So once you do, but I don't think the players are unreasonable. I think there's a way to have real rules that limit movement, that control movement, that make it more predictable. And then once you have that, then you can have tampering rules. And Ari, here's the thing. What's the biggest story in sports this week?
What is the biggest story in sports this week?
That's Crosby, Trey Hendrickson.
Oh, yeah.
Ravens and the Raiders.
I didn't know you were referring to. Yeah. What's
interesting is you can have the system that you think works, because the NFL has a CBA. They have rules everybody's agreed on. They have what's called a legal tampering period, where everybody can figure out what their market is. And then the league year starts and they make the deals official, which seemed like a pretty good system until a team pulled a giant okie doke involving one of the biggest prizes out there.
Yeah.
So no system's perfect is what I'm saying.
I was amused by one of the tweets that went viral yesterday that said there's somewhere out there Bill Belichick is mad he didn't come up with fake trades when he was in the NFL. And I thought that was really funny. But like it is, the thing that I've actually been thinking about a lot the last few weeks too, and we've been talking about tampering quite a bit, and it's been a point of conversation. I don't know if you got around to reading Chris Lowe's story today about Ahmad Hardy, the running back at Mizzou. But basically, the lead of the story is that midway through last season, if you remember, he got off to a really fast start last year and was rushing for like 200 yards in every game. Coaches, assistants, and staffers started following him on Instagram, and people were trying to pry him away from Mizzou already. Like the season was in the middle of the season, and he said he had no interest in leaving, and now is the perfect steward for Mizzou football. Like he became a hero today. But the thing I don't know is while players unquestionably want to maximize their earning potential, I wonder if there were tampering rules in place that stopped them from being harassed at all points of time in the year. And if there was a way for you to actually increase your income while remaining loyal or not having to move across country. Because I don't think that we appreciate enough how disruptive it is to a young man's life to leave Auburn for Texas.
Well, there is a way to
do you think
increase your income without moving, but you have to create the leverage
right
by threatening to move. It's sort of how we get raises in our job.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that there's no way that they could, or that there's a way that they could create a system where moving isn't inevitable. But I wonder if you polled 1,000 prolific college athletes and asked them if moving is a positive for them or if they want to move, I wonder what the actual poll results would be.
I don't think most people want to move.
I don't think most people want to do it.
I'm here to tell you.
Yeah.
Moving sucks.
It's like
moving sucks.
It's intimidating. New people, new system, new place, new teammates, new coach. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. And I think that a lot of times we look at college athletes who transfer and, maybe more so a few years ago than we do now, but there's almost like a judgment involved of like, this person took the easy way out, or this person's a backstabber, or this person is this or that. And we don't appreciate like how much of a strain it is on their own lives to actually go through that. And
if you're doing it, it's usually because there's a really good reason to. And in this case, it's usually a really good financial reason.
But like, I remember when I was covering recruiting back in the day, and maybe this is only true for the highest of high profile athletes, but people are just like, I wish I could just not get badgered by people 100% of my time. And I wonder like if the tampering rules would increase or improve the quality of life of the players who are being tampered with. Because think about how much of a burden that is on your own psyche.
Ahmad Hardy says he doesn't need an agent, but that's why you have an agent. Call my agent. Call my agent. Call my agent. That's what the agent's for.
But even if the agent is the middleman and you've got to field phone calls from your agent 3 times a week talking about potential moves, like Andy, when I came to On3 from The Athletic, it was an amazing opportunity. Obviously, I took it and I'm so happy here. But it was freaking stressful, man. Like, am I leaving? When am I leaving? What is the money? What is the structure? How long is the deal?
Sure.
What is the contracts? It's a lot of, and I was a 40-year-old man almost.
Welcome to being a grown-up and being a professional and making money. And that's
I had to
part
be
of the
faced
deal
with
with
that
these guys
decision
too.
3 times a month, it would be draining on me.
But they don't have to make a decision 3 times a month. They have to make it once. And again, that's what your agent's for.
Yeah. So
that's why they exist.
I was trying to do it backwoods, like maybe tampering rules would be better for players too. And I don't know, maybe there's nothing there. But
no, anything that restricts the ability of somebody else to offer you more money is not good for you.
Yeah. Or not just that, but like doing it during a time period where it all happens.
Well, that's what they're talking about. I think that's what Tony Petitti is talking about is a legal tampering period, similar to the NFL, where people can assess the market.
And that not be week 4 of your junior season.
Right. And so the play or the transfer portal opened January 2nd of this year. I think it probably would be reasonable to open that legal tampering window maybe after championship weekend.
Yeah.
So you have about a 3-week period where everybody can assess everybody's market.
Yeah. But it's also like, it's funny because it's like called a legal, it's like, it feels like the legal tampering period feels like the purge a little bit. But like if the purge occurs after the season's over, then it's not really a big deal. Yeah. Like that's the whole thing. Like it just can't occur during the season.
Right. But now it still will, because you just can't stop all of this.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to stop some rando from reaching out on Instagram DMs. It's going to keep happening.
And, well, the question too that I really would like to know what you think the answer to this is if they do make these rules and there is a legal tampering window and all the things in Petitti's letter actually comes to fruition and somebody breaks the rule, what is a reasonable penalty for somebody who is illegally tampering?
The head coach is suspended for 3 games. That would probably help enforce the rule, which, by the way, there are suspensions on the table with the rules now. The problem is you have to tamper if you're going to assess the market for a player. If you're going to know how much that player requires for you to get him once the portal opens, you have to tamper.
And you also have to do it to keep your books in order. Like, I mean, that's like you need to know like what you're going to spend and who you're allocating.
This is what
money
Petitti was saying.
Yeah.
You cannot function properly as a front office, and the players can't function properly as people who are selling their services without this interaction.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine if your property tax bill came at the end of every year and it was widely different and you never knew until 2 weeks before it was due how much you owed?
That would suck. Yes. That's why you get the trim notice 6 months out or 9 months out. So that's what Petitti's talking about here. And I get it. I still think you need more foundational rules in place before you worry about any of that. But I like the fact that they are looking at reality on reality's terms a little bit, because I think most of these big conferences do not. And you notice the other conferences did not sign on to that letter, which means they probably don't agree. Like Greg Sankey, I think, was a Ross Dellinger story in January, was quoted on the record as saying, it's mystifying to me why they're not enforcing these rules. Mm-hmm. To which I'd say, be careful what you wish for, Greg.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the coaches in your league want that to happen. So, but there's also another solution. This would be the more interesting solution. I don't know if it's more fun. I think it's more fun. You may not agree with me. Brian Hodgson, the USF basketball coach, was on Field of 68 with our friend Jeff Goodman the other day. And he talked about all the tampering that goes on and what happens when people are after his players.
And I'll say that about this. We do a good job with our guys, and I've got a very close relationship with them. So any of these clowns out here that think they're gonna reach out to my guys before the season ends and start sending the DMs and having the third party, I will find you. I'm not like the rest of these college basketball coaches. We will have a face-to-face conversation. I can promise you that.
You know we're clipping.
Hold on, Goodman.
Wait. You know we're clipping this. We're going to put this out there for everybody to see.
No, I want it out there because there's some real clowns out there, and it may work with other people. It doesn't work with me. We're all going to be in Indianapolis. I will find you. And should I repeat what's the movie with Liam Neeson, Taken? I've got a particular set of skills that make me a nightmare for people.
Hodgson, hold on, man.
That's like, you might catch these hands might really be the only effective deterrent. By the way, if you might catch these hands was the actual rule against tampering.
Yeah, if you tamper with a coach, you have to consent to a boxing match with the person that you're tampering with.
No one would ever tamper with a Miami football player.
Could you imagine?
You now have to fight Mario Cristobal.
Shit out of you if you took Malachi Tony from him.
This is a whole segment down the road.
Was that a violent threat?
I don't. Well, it wasn't until he mentioned Liam Neeson. Yeah. I know what Liam Neeson did when he found those guys.
Yeah. Well, that was a little bit more of a high stakes situation too in the movie.
Yeah.
But I do think that people are frustrated with it, and it's like I am like really torn by it too, because on one hand, like I feel for coaches at these places. I feel how hard it is to not only assemble a roster but maintain it. But at the same time, too, it kind of like 10% irks me when they say things like that, because it's like players aren't your property, Well,
also, like, did you take any transfers this year? When did you guys first reach out?
Yeah, and everybody's playing by the rules, and everybody's on the wrong side of things, and it's like, well, somebody has to be on the wrong side of things, and I think most of the time, it's kind of like I will cheat on that person, but if they cheat on me, then whoa, it's just like I don't know what it is, but like if you are a coach who has a really good player on your team and you're at a mid-major or you're at a smaller place or hell, even a good school that isn't great and somebody great wants to come in, who are you to prevent any discussion about anyone at any point wanting to better themselves or their future? They are not your property. And like I get it. Like,
but and that's why I keep going back to do the foundational stuff first, because you could have a system where the person is signed to a 3-year deal that is binding.
It's just so exhausting to continually talk about bathroom renovations of a slum. But that's all it is, isn't it? All we do is talk about temporary, half-assed fixes to a system that's broken.
Yep.
And the
whole thing.
And the thing that is so frustrating about the whole thing too, Andy, is even if they were to institute the new tile in the bathroom, to borrow your analogy, like you said, the bathtub is going to fall through. So like it might work for 6 months, it might work for a year, but eventually it's not going to work. People are going to do something different. And then you're going to have to make a new rule about that. Like this is like trying to scoop water out of a sinking boat with a spoon. Like it's not going to be fixed with these letters and these rules. You have to fix the entire system. And until you
our catch these hands rule might not work, because producer River points out that how many coaches would actually take an ass beating from Mario Cristobal if it meant Malachi Tony could be in their team next year.
Like, could you let Mike Tyson punch you in the face as hard as he could for $5 million? Like I would.
Every coach in America is going to just beat my ass, Mario, and I'm taking him.
How many coaches in college football would lovingly get their ass kicked to add Malachi Tony to their roster next year?
Every one of them. Now, there's a few who could probably put up a fight, like Marcus Freeman. I think he can handle himself.
Do you think Mario Cristobal would be the scariest coach to fight in college football?
100%. He does MMA training in the offseason.
Okay.
He's already bigger and stronger, and he's got some skill too. That's your issue.
Yeah. I'm looking at a list of college football coaches because I just don't want to forget anybody.
I feel like Kyle Whittingham's terrifying, even though
I wouldn't want to. Well, Kyle Whittingham will hit you over the head with a stool in a biker bar. Like that's not, And I mean that in the you are a sexy in the most older man with a leather jacket and a motorcycle type of way. That's not. I wouldn't want to fight with Tosh Lapoy.
No.
You know who I wouldn't want to fight with? Because this is a type of person that would be maybe not physically imposing, but in terms of their anger getting the best of them and then their adrenaline taking over, and then they stop feeling pain, which makes them dangerous, is Pat Narduzzi.
That's what Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart, I would not want to fight
First of all, Kirby Smart, former all SEC safety. So he's way more athletic than you, and probably more athletic than you think he is. And you've heard the pregame speeches. That is amazing. Remember when Hulk Hogan would Hulk up and nothing the opponent could do would phase him? I feel like Kirby gets in that mode. When he's in a pregame speech, if you hit him in that mode, he's just like, no, and he just stares at you.
We just had this person on our show last week, but I would not want to fight with Lance Taylor.
No.
That guy's got pretty big biceps, and I'm just trying to think people. You know who else I wouldn't want to fight with is Kalani Sitake.
Yes, for fullback.
Anybody who played football at a high level, I think, would be scary to fight with. But now that I'm looking at Jeff Traylor would be terrifying. I wouldn't want to fight with that guy.
I think he'd just be, and you just don't want to disappoint him either.
Yeah.
So, but Mario's the scariest. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Mario Cristobal would be the one that I mean, now that you told me about that, I didn't know about the MMA thing.
Yeah.
But
no, he's not messing around.
Yeah. But I'm looking at some of these and I'm like, I would definitely fight that guy. Should we do the reverse of like who are the guys you would most likely want to fight?
No, because one of them is doing MMA training and they're gonna schedule us for a charity match and destroy us.
Yeah, I've never been in a fight or punched in the face before, so like I don't know what that's like. Been very close many times though to being hit.
Eli Drinkwitz is gonna put you in a rear naked choke.
Yeah. I don't know what people are doing. It's a weird fitness world out there where everyone's got their things.
Everybody's got their thing. Exactly.
It's like you might like I'll fight with Kenny Dillingham. It's like, oh wait, no, he takes Tai Chi in the morning. It's like, no thanks, dude.
Not Tai Chi is this. I think you're thinking of Muay Thai.
No, Tai Chi is where they do their hand motions, woo, and then they strike you in the throat before you even know you're in a fight.
That's not Tai Chi. Tai Chi is in the mornings. You do those motions to be calm and serene.
Like
Muay Thai is what you're thinking of.
Whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not a martial artist. You strike me as somebody who's done Tai Chi in the morning. Maybe you're going to the beach weekend. You can go out there and do one of these and feel one with the earth. Man, don't forget the ground.
Not that peaceful.
Don't forget the ground. Take your shoes off and make sure that the dirt and the sand hits your feet. It is good for the chemistry of your body. Do you believe in that?
No.
Grounding? No.
I believe in back squats.
Do you think that all these wellness centers and all these wellness stores are just like a way to grift rich people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because everybody's looking for something. And everybody wants to do something easier than back squats.
So my wife doesn't really listen to the show. So I want to ask you this.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm not even going to tell you the business, but there's a business in town that is like a fruit juice, tea, wellness place.
You had me at fruit juice.
You know, one of these juicers in Dallas. Right. And by the way, very successful business. If you'd like to sponsor us, I will take it and I'll tell everybody how great I feel. But they sell these juices and these vitamins and all these different things to help with your general wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife buys this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's any positive health aspect to taking any of this stuff?
Well, yes, it's probably better to drink freshly squeezed juice than it is to drink soda. So, yeah.
There's something called an immunity tea, and every time she feels like she's getting sick, she makes me go get her one and bring it to her. I don't have the heart to tell her you're not going to not get sick or you're not going to recover faster because you're drinking this tea.
I don't know what's in the tea. You put some Keflex in the tea.
Here's what I do know.
You're right up.
Here's what I do know, Andy. We have made a lot of modern advancements in medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can literally take someone else's heart out of someone's body and transplant it into somebody else's.
Yes.
You know what we haven't done? Solved the common cold.
Correct.
There's no pill you can take in any pharmacy in America where if your throat is sore or your nose is stuffed or you're having cold-like symptoms that they alleviate within the next hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what's in the tea. If I can't buy it at Walgreens, what am I buying at this juice bar? You're spending more money and it doesn't have ingredients you can't pronounce. Antioxidant-rich ingredients like elderberry, ginger, turmeric, rubiose, and support immune systems. Like that doesn't. Like this is something that probably needs to be taken when you're not sick, so that you're less likely to get sick. But once you're sick, you're screwed. That's true for everybody. Like I don't even know if like Kim Kardashian could like recover from a cold in 3 hours because she has endless money in access to people like this. Ari, just buy the tea. I do. I would never say this to her. I'm saying it to you and everybody else. Good job. Yeah. No, I'm a very good husband.
Let's talk about something that actually make your life better. Culver's Butter Burgers.
Oh my God. Now we're talking. Now we're talking about something you can put in your body that really makes you feel better.
That's exactly right. So our Culver's Butter Burger, breaking news today. Breaking news from Culver's Butter Burgers. And by the way, you can come see us with Culver's April 4th in downtown Indianapolis at the Culver's Game Day Hub. The Butterburger breaking news today, AJ Dybantsa from BYU is on a tear in the Big 12 tournament. 40 points against West Virginia, 27 against Kansas State. This guy is looking like potentially the number one pick in the NBA draft, and I realize Kansas's Darren Peterson, who also is playing the Big 12 tournament, probably has a lot to say about it. Cam Boozer at Duke may have something to say about it. But AJ Dybantsa has looked spectacular on that iPad court at the Big 12 tournament, Ari. It's been fun to watch him.
Yeah, no, I mean, this guy's been a monster, and I have unfortunately wagered both games against BYU, and I've lost both games because of him. So it's been really fun to watch. And by that, I mean agonizing, but the kid's a stud.
Yeah. So they've got Houston coming up on Thursday night in the Big 12 tournament. Our James Fletcher III at On3 has them pegged as a 6th seed right now in the NCAA tournament. So I'm excited to see Dybantsa go through the tournament, because this is where you should be looking at how these guys play. And I realize the NBA draft is different, but I've always been one of those that if you see somebody kind of dragging their team through in a way that maybe they weren't going to be able to do without them, I think that matters a lot. Like Ja Morant at Murray State, we watched him lead them to a win in the NCAA tournament. Now, BYU's a different story. BYU should be winning multiple games in the NCAA tournament, but this is one of those that after Richie Saunders got hurt earlier this year, you thought, I don't know how good this team's going to be. But Dybantsa's been awesome toward the end of the season. I can't wait to see him in the NCAA tournament. But as I mentioned, he is tearing it up in Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament right now. So
yeah, like you said, anytime you have a player that can literally carry a team on his back on your team, like this is the month where those players shine through. And there's going to be a lot of people who didn't really watch college basketball that much, and can't imagine we're tuning in for BYU games at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday night that are going to get to see this guy, and he's remarkable.
And in the end of K-State game, like Rob Wright, the point guard for BYU gets hit in the mouth and has to go out and can't, he's going to play again, but he couldn't come back in the game that day. And Dybantsa's handling and really, running the offense at times. Like the guy is so versatile for his size, and he just, there's so many things he can do. And this is why he was such a big time recruit. But it's interesting because Peterson has been kind of thought of as he's going to be the number one draft pick. But you watch this guy play, you watch Dybantsa play, you think, okay, maybe not. Maybe this is the guy you want if you have that number one pick. And obviously, everyone in the NBA is tanking for the number one pick right now.
The way he moves at 6'9", 6'10" is pretty remarkable. And, versatility, I think, is a good thing in the NBA draft boards now. If Peterson continues to, play in the games and perform.
Peterson's been better since all that stuff. Yeah. But Dybantsa, especially given that this is because of the Saunders injury, this is not exactly the team they thought it was going to be. The dynamics were not the same as they thought they were going to be. If he can lead them deep in the NCAA tournament, I think you really need to heavily consider taking him number one. So that is our Butterburger breaking news. Remember, you can join us downtown Indianapolis April 4th at the Culver's Game Day Hub. There will be frozen custard, of course.
Oh, God. I could use some of that right now.
Oh, Butterburgers. Ari, walleyes back at Culver's. I was driving past Culver's just yesterday.
Now you know.
So
now you know the
walleye
key to
is
my
back.
heart. You know the key to my heart. Big walleye guy.
Hey, sweet thing. Let me buy you a fish sandwich. We have more breaking news, Ari, from the MAC tournament. Remember we talked about Miami of Ohio last week, and they're undefeated regular season. They went 31-0, but Bruce Pearl said the thing, well, if they don't win the MAC tournament title, maybe they shouldn't be an at-large. I don't think anybody had this on their bingo card. Number 8 seed UMass shocks Miami of Ohio in the first round of the MAC tournament, 87-83. Like, We're recording this, Ari, at 1:30 Eastern time. The game is over. That's how sleepy this was to start. Nobody's even thinking about they might lose to UMass.
Well,
I think maybe down the line in the tournament in the final, but not round one.
Just so you know, I was keenly aware that this game was happening, not because of the NCAA tournament implications, although interesting, but the first half of this game had a bad beat that is going to be on SportsCenter later. The first half over under for the total was 75.5, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 37-37, which is 74, right? With 0.5 seconds left. UMass was inbounding the ball after a bucket underneath their own basket. And they tried to throw it down court. And the ball didn't touch anybody and went out of bounds. So by rule, Miami of Ohio then retained possession underneath their own basket and then threw it in for a tip-in with 0.5 seconds left for a bucket right before halftime, and the total went from 74 to 76. So people who were on the first half over of the game or under of the game got absolutely destroyed.
That's why you never bet unders.
Big Cat was... our friend Big Cat was on the over. And he was
because he doesn't bet unders.
Yeah.
He knows better.
Yeah, he knows. But anyway, he hit the over, and that's how I knew that the game was close. And I'm like, well, that's something to track. And then as we were recording the show, I was following along with the game, and then we ultimately saw that Miami of Ohio lost, which then brings us to this segment here.
Miami of Ohio was up 11 with 8.5 minutes to go. And then UMass erased that really in the next 3.5 minutes, and it was nip and tuck the rest of the way. And UMass wins basically back them down in the lane, little jump hook to take the lead. Miami can't answer. Miami's got a foul. Game ends. It is
really hard to win 32 games in a row in basketball. It's not what you were going to say.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple ways to go with this, because you can say if you feel very certain Miami's in, which I think they are. I don't think it's going to be a big challenge for them to get in, because I think a lot of the bubble teams have not covered themselves in glory this conference tournament season. So even though Miami does not have the best strength of schedule, they still have a really good resume. 31-1 is a really good resume. And so they're still going to have a very good argument against teams that lost 15 games, 16 games. But they're lucky that Cincinnati blew it against UCF in the Big 12 tournament. They're lucky that Indiana lost. They're lucky that this happened, because if a few of those teams had a little bit deeper runs in their conference tournaments, I think they'd be sweating a little more. Now, this all goes back to last week. If you do not remember last week, Bruce Pearl got on TV, and his son Steven is Auburn's coach. Remember, Steven succeeded Bruce at Auburn. And Bruce was saying, hey, Miami of Ohio shouldn't be an at-large team, slam dunk, if they lose a game, if they don't win the MAC tournament. This got Bruce just absolutely devastated.
And I didn't say this at the time.
Everybody.
But he got devastated because people did not care about the merit of his point. They did not like that he was just trying to prop up his son.
He was propping up his son's team, which has double-digit losses, was 7-11 in SEC play this year. They were not very good. Now, I think Auburn's also going to make the tournament. And our pal Jeff Goodman from the Field of 68 has a great idea. If the committee has any sense of humor whatsoever, what are we going to get in Dayton? Auburn versus Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, and we got some questions for Friday's show, but we will talk a little bit about Auburn's bubble situation on Friday's show. But so this is a nice little preamble to that. But it is,
because there's a really interesting football comparison that the Auburn people are probably going to hate. But the Auburn, Miami of Ohio would be everybody thinks the committee makes choices based on storyline. They really don't. There's too many moving parts to the bracket to do that. But if they love us at all, If they want, as Jeff Goodman says, if they want anybody to watch the games in Dayton, you will put Auburn against Miami of Ohio.
Yeah. And because the sport is so intertwined, we often get the storylines anyway. Like, you don't even have to be intentional about it. Like,
but this would be so perfect because you had Miami's coach going after Pearl. You had Miami's AD going after Pearl. You had Miami releasing the emails to our friend Matt Brown of who they tried to schedule in the non-conference, which was a lot of really good teams that didn't respond or just couldn't work out a date with them. But they did try to schedule better in the non-conference, but they are 0-0 in quad one games. Whereas Auburn's going to say we have 4 quad one wins, including a win at Florida, which is the number 1 seed, according to most of you.
And funny enough, I think that if Miami plays and beats Auburn, they would still be 0-0 in quad one wins, right?
Auburn is in the low 30s, so that'd be on a neutral site. Yeah, so that would not be. I don't believe that would. No. They'd be top 50.
Quad one. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So.
Okay. Well, I would love to watch it. And may the wind be.
Give me that Tuesday night in Dayton. I want that.
May the wind be at your back, Miami. I hope that you at least have a chance to play. You've had a remarkable season, and obviously this happens. This happened to Auburn 15 times. So, like, you can get through this. And
far. Auburn, by the way, is playing Tennessee in the SEC tournament in Nashville at 3 p.m. Eastern. They're as you're watching this, if you started this video right when our show started, they're getting close to halftime now. So yeah. We're recording this a little bit earlier, but it is going to be so much fun if that's what we get. I'm not even really entertaining the possibility of Miami not being in the tournament. I don't think they're going to get left out. I do think there would be howls of displeasure if they are left out for some team that lost 15 games.
15 times.
15 times. But yes, let's put it this way. Whoever's going to win the MAC tournament now was not supposed to be in there. So that is a bid thief.
It's a bid thief.
But again, the teams on the bubble, for the most part, have not performed particularly well during conference tournament play. So I think Miami's okay. I think they're okay. But oh my God, this is the worst possible outcome. Worst outcome. Now, the best outcome is I go on one of our friend shows and get an idea for our show. As you know, Crain and Cone join the On3 family. They've been doing a really fun series of debates. You saw Ari with Brooks Austin talking Big Ten and SEC. Well, now it's me and Danny Cannell debating. I'm using air quotes there for the podcast, folks. Debating Florida and Florida State. But gave me a really interesting idea for a discussion about the Gators that I want to have with Ari. Ari, you did your debate on Crain and Cone, SEC versus Big Ten with Brooks Austin. I was invited to a debate on Crain and Cone this week. Florida versus Florida State against Danny Cannell, the former Seminoles quarterback, host at SiriusXM, one of the co-hosts of the Cover 3 podcast. And Danny and I, it was funny because Danny and I both had the same response to this. Like, what are we debating here right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because,
okay, yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, his alma mater is kind of where they are. And it's a very unique situation because I think probably the fan base was ready to move on from Mike Norvell last season, and now he's back. Meanwhile, Florida fans very excited about John Summerall, but I don't know what they're expecting. And that was the really interesting part of the conversation that we got into, was what the expectations are for these two teams. And it got me thinking about what success looks like for Florida in 2026. So let's hear that conversation, and then you and I can break this down, because I'm really curious to hear what you think about this too. Can we establish a baseline here, Danny? Because I'm curious. You said a couple things. You said that John Summerall has these high expectations because everybody's excited. And I agree that everybody's optimistic at Florida, but I'm not sure how high the expectations are if people are thinking he's got to make the playoff or anything like that. But can we? I don't know. Do we know what the expectations are? Do we like what do Florida State people think this season should be? Are they looking at like 7-5, 8-4 as something to be happy with?
I don't know, because Florida State fans, I think, are almost hoping for 5-7, so you can move on. It goes back to the vibes being so bad.
The Florida fans were like that going into Napier's next to last season. Not last season, they went in with high expectations, which is why it crumbled after USF. But it was the same. Yeah, going into 2024 with Napier, Florida fans were like that too. It was like, okay, we're done with this guy, and let's get this over with. The Florida expectations this year are interesting to me because I think 8-4, 9-3 would make people 8-4 probably not going to make everybody super happy, but it is an improvement over everything Billy Napier ever did. Mm-hmm. So I think he can get away with that. And then if you're better than that, even better. That's just gravy. Mm-hmm. And then the honeymoon kind of ends at that point. But I don't think his bar is set that high, which is good for him. Norvell is the more interesting one to me because I'm with you. I don't know what they want other than something different.
Yeah. Right. And that's where so like 6-6, you make a bowl, you probably have to make a change. 7-5, you probably have to make a change. I think 8-4 is kind of the bar that Mike Norvell has to get to. And for the Gators, I almost feel like 8-4 is the same bar to kind of continue some of that momentum, to show some of that progress. And I think based on the people that I talk to, based on my own expectations, because I love the Summerall hire, I love the coordinators he's brought in, I like the message that he's sending. I think that's kind of the expectation for Florida is 8-4 as sort of a baseline. Anything over that is incredible. Like if you're 9-3, you're probably going to be in the playoff discussion. You might even get in. So I think anything above 8-4 is kind of exceeding expectations.
So Danny and I came down in about the same place. And I've been thinking about this because I think, when they fired Napier, they hired Summerall, the initial response was not as excited as Florida fans are now that they've gotten to know John Summerall a little bit. And I don't know that it's changed the actual, because I don't think it'd be realistic to expect the guy to make the playoff year one. I think you got to give him a little bit of grace, especially considering they've been essentially a 500 or just below 500 program for the last 4 years.
Did you just ask me if I thought Florida fans were going to be rational about their expectations for year one? Is that what you just said? I'm trying to catch up here. It's not rational for them to expect making the playoff.
They should know better, is what you're saying.
Florida isn't a freaking charity case. Like, I know they've been bad. The reason why they fired their last coach is because they did not make the playoff, and they hired their new coach to make the playoff. I have one criticism, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the thing that John Summerall said this week about how they were going to go to Italy with his wife and how he canceled it because he's got too much shit to do?
Yes.
The guy could have gone to Italy for a few days. It would have been fun.
I mean, it's spring practice.
I'm not saying you go in the middle of spring practice, but if his wife wants to go to Italy, they could go in June and have a nice 5 days. I feel like, a lot of times, and I think that part of this is like important because you want to win over your fan base, but like there is a performative element here. And I think that he is a very good coach and a very good hire, but we know you're busy. We know you're building a program.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. Look, John Summerall's not stupid, Ari. He worked in the state of Louisiana last year and heard all the Brian Kelly golf stuff.
Yeah.
He watched the Hugh Freeze golf stuff. Everybody knows.
It would be funny if he was a huge golfer. By the way, that hat he was wearing at practice with the Jordan logo on it. That's Florida. Yeah. I want that hat. I don't have any tie to Florida.
I'm sure I can pick you one up somewhere around town.
It's a badass hat. The worst thing about our industry is that we can't wear collegiate stuff around town because then people will, think that maybe I'm thinking too much of it.
That you favor this team over that team. Yeah, I understand.
Florida's got great gear, but I think that the truth of the matter is they might not need to make the playoff for people to be satisfied. But if you think their expectation is they don't need to make the playoff right now, you're wrong. And I also think too, a lot of times we spend a lot of minutes on this podcast discussing
what someone's record's going to be or what the result has to be. I think that Florida is looking and hoping for a certain look to their team, and that might amount to 8-4 and 9-3 against a tough schedule. They might lose to Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma back to back to back, but you want that team to look competitive. You want that team to look good and frankly, less dysfunctional on the field on Saturdays. Like, that was the most painful thing about last year's team. The talent that they had on the roster was not able to overcome how the lack of coaching, frankly, put them in bad situations and terrible penalties and boneheaded decisions and weird play calls and all that stuff. They want to look at a team that is a tough freaking out in the SEC for Georgia in year one. So, to me, playoff or not, I think we're quibbling with that. What they want is a product that they can be proud of, a product that can push teams, a product that is scary. And whether that means 10 games or 9 wins or whatever, I don't know what the result of that's going to be. But you'll know damn well by week 6 whether they have a team that they can be proud of or not. And that, to me, is the most important thing.
I think that's exactly right. You're using the Potter Stewart. It's the Potter Stewart definition of obscenity. I know it when I see it. And you knew watching Florida last year that wasn't it.
That wasn't it. Yeah.
That's not it. They did not radically overhaul the roster. Now, obviously, the quarterback situation is an overhaul because DJ Lagway is out, and it's either going to be Aaron Philo or Tramel Jones Jr. But they kept a lot of the same guys that you saw on that team last year, and I think that was probably for the best, because if you talk to coaches who played them last year, they thought the roster was kind of awesome. They were surprised at how bad they were.
Yeah. Me too.
And I think Summerall understands that. Summerall knew what he was getting into. So,
which is, we always dunk on ourselves for picking Florida to be very good last year, but then you have opposing coaches going, "Oh, they're really talented."
Steve Sarkisian and Mario Cristobal. Yeah, Mario Cristobal made the national championship game, and he said that was one of the toughest rosters they played.
I think it's interesting, and maybe this could be a podcast segment for later on. But how you said, what was, you have the encyclopedia brain, but what is it called when you know it when you see it?
The Potter Stewart definition. Of
Potter Stewart. I've never heard those words.
He was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. They were deciding if something was obscene or not, and he said, "I know it when I see it."
Okay, that's funny. You could just rattle that off the top of your head. It also works in reverse too. Like, even last year, I know this is a Florida segment, but Texas wasn't it either. Now, their fans would at the end of the year say,
right, what wasn't it relative to what we thought
they're supposed to be?
Yeah.
I think that, and I'm using that as an example to get back to Florida, which is, Texas's record was 9-3 and they beat a bunch of pretty good teams. But if you ask a Texas fan in an honest moment, was that it? I think that
they didn't look how they were supposed to look against Florida. They didn't look how they were supposed to look in some of those early games that they did end up winning. They didn't look how they were supposed to look against Mississippi State. I'm with you. And
so you have to do the reverse of it, and obviously you have to compare to where you are as a program.
Producer River, can you throw Florida's schedule back up there? So this team's 9-3, but let's say that the losses are very tight losses to Georgia, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt, and they beat Texas, or let's say they lose to Texas and Georgia and Vanderbilt and beat Oklahoma, beat Ole Miss. But the games they lost were really close.
It's a tough schedule.
I think the fan base would go, okay, that's why we hired the guy. They're competitive now. And now going into 2027, go make the playoff.
Yeah, or figure out who you are, get your sea legs, be a tough out, maybe win a game or two against teams that are deemed very good. And then you know how to allocate your funds next offseason to fill up the holes that you discovered on your roster. Yeah. And then go compete for the playoff. But
8-4, there's two different versions of 8-4 too. You, especially with this schedule, you could be 8-4 with this schedule, but you got blown out by Ole Miss and Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma, and nobody's happy.
Yeah,
you can be 8-4 with this schedule, and maybe you lost one you weren't supposed to lose, but you won one you weren't supposed to win, and the other ones were close. And it was you know what? All right, you're moving in the right direction. So
I think they need to make life hard for Texas and Georgia, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and Ole Miss.
Yeah, they have to show they belong on the field with those teams that are either made the playoff last year or have been in the playoff recently. And so that's Ole Miss, that's Texas, that's Georgia. And by the way, going to Missouri is not going to be easy.
Yeah, getting a sea legs. We'll know September 26th where things are at.
We may know September 19th. That's John Sumrall versus Alex Golesh
at
in
home
Auburn
against a team that made the playoff last year, that has an exciting quarterback and did what it had to do to make the playoff coming into your building.
Yeah,
you play a 4-quarter competitive, hard-nosed game with them, or do you go down hard like that? I mean, I think that that's it. So, again, I still don't quite understand the genesis of the debate you had because it's so clearly Florida. And who do you trust more? Who do you trust more? The person we have.
I think Miami wound up winning that debate, to be perfectly honest.
But Andy, like that Family Guy clip. It's like, do you want a boat or do you want the mystery box? Well, anything could be in the mystery box. It could be a boat. Like that. Kind of was like, well, who do you trust more, the mystery box or the person that you've seen not do so hot the last 2 years? I'll take the mystery box.
Yeah. Florida is the mystery box this time. And I do think the fan base, though, is excited. It's interesting because I would love to go to the average Florida fan a week or two before. Well, yeah, let's do 2 weeks before John Sumrall got hired when they thought they were going to get Lane Kiffin and say, John Sumrall is going to get the job. And in March, you're going to be super excited about this team. They would have called the cops on me. They would have said, there's no way.
I know when you have your eyes set on something and then you don't get the thing you have your eyes set on, it's hard to appreciate what you end up getting. But it's not impossible or out of the question that John Sumrall in 5 years from now is the better hire here.
Sure. Now, and he's won everywhere he's been. 4 years as head coach. Two Sun Belt titles at Troy, one Sun Belt title, one American title at Tulane. Played the conference championship game every year he's been head coach. So he's on the right trajectory, but you just don't know. And it's interesting because I'm the one who always says it doesn't matter if you win the press conference. Just win games. You can lose the press conference all you want. It does not matter. It means nothing. But John Sumrall has won the press conferences so far. And I think that's made this part a little easier for him, the adjustment to it. But I think part of that is his understanding. Like, you're hiring a guy from Huntsville, Alabama, who played for an SEC school. He understands the way the fan base thinks because he's them.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it. Like, he grew up in it, understands exactly how they feel. So I think that helps a lot. But
I think this should be a podcast for next week or a week after. We talked about on the show, and it's so true, that there is a wave of first and second year head coaches right now that are exciting, new, and their ceilings haven't been tapped yet.
Yep.
But there is going to be a new wave. Like, think about, like, if you try to project a list of 2031 of that offseason, the top 10 coaches in college football. You realize that 7 of the 10 names that will be on that list in 2031 are not head coaches yet or have not really gotten started yet at their new place.
I think we may have talked to a couple of those guys in the past week in Jerry Mack and Lance Taylor.
Who are the guys that are set up? And it's like, it would not strike me as weird if John Sumrall was number 3 in 2021.
2031. Yeah.
What did I say? 21? 2031.
Yeah.
I think that there is an intriguing aspect of this that we always lose sight of. And we certainly lost sight of it this year, Andy, as this coaching carousel was all about acting head coaches. And we never take the minute to appreciate that the great ones might not just be great yet, but are there. And we don't know who got it. Maybe it's Alex Golesh.
Well, Dan Lanning is in that spot now. And a few years ago, he's a defensive coordinator.
We've had a lot of guys on our show recently. Tosh Lapoy could be great at Cal. We don't know that. What about Will Stein? What if Will Stein is a genius?
Oh, I think the SEC new coaches situation is very interesting because it is essentially a generational shift. Not necessarily at Florida because Napier was younger, but Sam Pittman, Mark Stoops, Hugh Freeze, all part of a different generation of coaches than the men who replaced them, than Ryan Silverfield, than Will Stein, than Alex Golesh. It is a new generation. And I think that's why when we talk to these guys, you get so pumped because they seem to get it. They seem to understand how things work now. They talk differently. They don't complain about the rules all the time.
Yep. New generation, younger people born in this new era, embracing of the new era, understanding the finances of it, and ready to go.
Here's the crazy part, Ari. Most of them are still going to lose and get fired because that's how this works.
They probably will. But you know what? I bet you one of the 5 coaches you just named is going to be one of the top 5 coaches in America at some point.
I think you're probably right. And Florida hopes it is John Summerall. We're going to do that again for multiple teams. That was a fun discussion. And I would love to hear from you guys. You know how to find us. Andy Staples on 3 at gmail.com, Ari.Wasserman at on3.com. You can find us on social media too. I would love to know, you tell me who you're a fan of, and then you tell me what represents success for your team in 2026. And we'll do all the different big time teams because I think this is a great discussion to have because it's not necessarily ceiling. It's what's realistic plus what are you hopeful for? I think that there's a little combination of that. It's not best case scenario necessarily. It's what are you willing to live with?
Yeah. Willing to live with. Yeah. You can be hopeful, but what are you willing to live with is a good way to put it.
We're gonna get into some other teams about it because I think this is a fascinating discussion for basically every team in the power conferences. We can have some fun with this.
Yeah. You know who I like?
So thank you, Crain and Cone and Danny Cannell for giving us an idea.
We'll be an idea, Steve. Yeah. Colorado, that's a good one.
Colorado's a great one. LSU is a great one. Michigan.
Michigan's a good one. Penn State. Ooh.
Michigan State. Year 1 under Pat Fitzgerald.
Arizona.
Texas Tech. Yeah. They're all fun.
USC.
You see where we're going with this. USC?
UCLA.
Yep.
Literally everybody. Except if you're a team that's recently won.
Florida State's probably the one that it's hard. It's hard to have.
Danny hit it on the nail on the head on that one.
I think he did too. And we've talked. Boston College would be another one that's hard. We've talked about this with regard to Florida State, where it's just I feel so bad for their fans having to go through this because this is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to get to spend the whole offseason having fun, being hopeful, thinking this is the year that things get better. This is the year it turns around. Or if you're already good, we get to stay good. And they're not feeling that way at all. They're just, oh no, it's another year like last year, which it may or may not be. But we shall see. Thank you so much. Dear Andy and dear Ari, tomorrow, some great questions from you guys. A little intersection of college basketball and college football as we send you off towards Selection Sunday. We'll talk to you tomorrow.